Welcome back to Supremely Black Podcast. This is your host, D Rose. Now, in this particular segment, we're going to be discussing the migrant issue that they say that they have in Aurora, Colorado, which is right outside of Denver if you're not aware of the area. With me being a Broncos fan, I frequent the area a few times. Very nice place. I've actually had, I got an Airbnb one year when I went out there for my birthday in Aurora. Very nice place. But based off of the videos that we've seen, there has been an apartment complex buildings that have been taken over by Venezuelan gangs. And so the political figures have spoke about it, the governor, but then now as of earlier today, they have stated that there will be, the police say that the best thing to do is to shut down the apartments, shut down those buildings because it's been overrun by a Venezuelan gang. Now, there has been other places where they spoke about it saying like, okay, hey, it wasn't true, it wasn't overrun, but just based off of the videos that had went viral, you've seen them all coming into it. Apparently they were collecting money. They didn't pushed out the tenant, the landlord. He can't even come to the premises. He actually was told by them, if you come over here, we will kill you and we will kill your family. Now, with these people not having any documentation, apparently they are visiting the area from, coming in through El Paso and making their way to Denver, Colorado. It's been rumored to be in other places, of course, like they stayed in New York, Chicago. Those are only rumored at the time. I've actually did some research on it. I don't see anything that sticks. Even Dallas, Texas is stated there, but if you've been in the Dallas area, you've seen a lot of different people there anyway, but I don't think anything to the nature of what's going on in Aurora, where they took over a complete apartment building. The landlord can't even come in. Pretty much the tenants are paying the gang members money. There's been targeted shootings in Aurora, Colorado, and it's got major connections to what they consider as the Venezuelan gang. There's one guy that has been arrested or killed. I don't know how they really want to put that out there, but he's being labeled as the Cookie Monster. And apparently he was the leader over the Venezuelan gang that is in the Colorado area. Now, when you research the reports on it, you won't hear a lot about him. I think that's been kind of like the focus point to see exactly what's going on with it. But the bigger issue lies is that if it's true that it has a migrant issue in Dallas, and Dallas people tap in if y'all heard or seen anything that's very similar to what's going on in Aurora, New York, Chicago, things like that, it's only a matter of time before we have to say, okay, regardless of who you're voting for, who is going to get the border issue right? Because if this gang is taking over an entire apartment building, people that aren't aware of how that works, with the squatter laws in certain states, there's nothing that you can do about them until there has been a court order. And in Aurora, they're now stating that since the police say that they're going to close it down, but it has to go through a municipal court, and the judge has to authorize the police to come onto the property and remove everyone and just shut the facility down. So you got to think of how long does it take before a municipal judge actually approves it, but then what else could actually happen in that area? Because if you've given them an entire apartment complex with several buildings, there's really no telling of how much shot they done posted up. You got to think about it from a street perspective. It's like if you gave us, not us, you know, I'm straight, I ain't on none of that, but if you gave this group of people an entire apartment building and they have other connections, they pretty much got everybody scared all the way down to the landlord and to where the police can't even really do anything, even though they're trying to shut it down, they have to wait for a municipal order. That can be a real situation if it starts to impact other cities, because bigger cities, Aurora's pretty, like I said, it's a nicer place right outside of Denver, Colorado, if you're familiar with the area. But if this happens to start to hit bigger cities or even smaller cities that may not have the resources that could withstand them being a powerful gang, Now, we've only heard because of reports of a few shootings, right, and crime, and they said the crime has went up a lot. Keep in mind, this is used to be a nicer area. That could really put a lot of pressure on local people that are from there. These people don't have any paperwork. And so it's now starting to garner a lot of attention because, of course, Donald Trump, that's actually running for office in November, has stated that Denver was, Aurora, was overrun by Venezuelan gangs. If you know, that has been his big focal point, is that the border issue is ridiculous. You will see other people say like, hey, we don't even have places to stay. I don't know if y'all see it, but you know, when you watch the stuff on YouTube, you see an ad and you see the subsidy that they're giving out to migrants that come into the country. And so they're getting a lot of money. Like I've seen people like, we just blowing this money from California, Chicago, and they were all staying in like New York. They just getting money based off of being migrants into the city, from food stamps, support from health. But we have people in America that are actually struggling to even make ends meet. So it's like, is this something that's really going on, or are we running into an issue to where we may have lost control in regards to what's really going on with the border? And then also another thought of it is, from my thoughts, is that, is this something that, as you're watching news, you will see the Democratic Party will have something that they want to push out that says that the Republicans aren't doing right. Republican-controlled media will have something that they feel that the Democrats aren't covering or taking care of. So is this a real issue, or is this a play because it's election season? But you got to think about the local people that could be drastically impacted by illegal immigrants being in the country, doing whatever they want to do, taking over apartment complexes. And I'm gonna run this video, so I'm gonna let you all see exactly of how the governor was speaking about the issue and just how he was fumbling over his words. To be honest with you, if I was a resident in that area, I would be nervous, because you can see that, one, they was not prepared for this to happen, and two, they don't know how to respond.
It seems it's tough to even get some confirmation of the details of what is going on there. First off, can you confirm whether or not this gang has taken over these buildings there in Aurora?
So there are several buildings actually under the same ownership, out-of-state ownership, that have fallen to these Venezuelan gangs. I'm trying to walk it back and do the investigation as to how there's a concentration of Venezuelans in these three buildings. Somebody put them there, and somebody funded it. Whether it's federal government or not, we're trying to find out who. These gangs apparently are attracted to where there's a concentration of Venezuelan migrants, and so they've in fact have kind of pushed out the property management through intimidation, and then collected the rents. We have now, or have had, it is ongoing operations with a task force of local law enforcement, state law enforcement partners, and federal law enforcement partners to root them out. And arrests have been made, but these operations are still ongoing.
With the arrests that have been made, are these confirmed gang-affiliated members?
You know, this is an organized criminal effort. Whether it's Tren de Aragua, that remains to be seen. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, if they're Venezuelan migrants and they're conducting crime in an organized manner, they're a problem.
So so you're able to confirm that this Venezuelan gang has indeed taken over at least some of the buildings. You're saying at least two of the three. And what I just heard from you is you don't know how they ended up there. And you even made a suggestion that they could have been sent there by federal officials. I heard you suggest. Well, I mean, do you have any reason to believe that to be the case?
So here's the problem. I think we're a victim of a failed policy at the southern border, because what you have, Venezuela does not according to my law enforcement, Venezuela does not cooperate with the United States in sharing criminal histories. You had a third of the country leave. you've had these massive waves of migrants coming across the border that many of them crossed the border illegally, were arrested, asked for political asylum, were not adequately vetted, were released into the country. The city of Aurora, we did everything we could to quite frankly keep them out of the city, because it's not our problem. This is a federal problem. This is a problem borne by the federal government. But what we're trying to find out, and what I believe occurred, was that federal agencies worked with some of our local nonprofits and put them there. Now, most of these people are very good people. But there's a criminal element that, from what I understand, what law enforcement has briefed me, that often follows them, intends to exploit them within their own migrant community. And so we believe that is happening now. Now, we're the 51st largest city in America. We're with over 400,000 in population. This is only several apartment complexes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I'm not going to surrender any part of this city to a criminal element.
With all due respect, it's no longer, just in the hands of the feds when you've got, we've heard reports that this gang has green-lighted its members to attack your local police. What are you doing about that, Mayor?
Well, we're aware of that in the Denver metropolitan area, that there are elements of Tren de Aragua here. And so, we're, in terms of how our police operate, the tactics, what they're doing to protect themselves, is our number one priority.
I think about how Aurora tried to position themselves versus Denver in all of this, with Denver's the sanctuary city status in a way, correct? And Aurora sort of tried
Denver's historically been a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
Aurora has not. And that's why we took the position again that we were not going to expend any public dollars on this migrant crisis, nor would we be a conduit for state or federal dollars to provide assistance. Not our problem, federal problem, border issue. They need to resolve it, not us. But somehow we got sucked into this, and we are a victim again of this policy that we didn't
somehow is
create.
that's a big somehow, and I would expect that you're probably very personally trying to get down to the bottom of that.
It's because knowing that the laws that goes in regards to tenants being in places, and then the squatter laws that I was speaking about earlier, it makes it a sticky situation. But for me, I think that they're scary because you don't even know how to identify these people, because they're not citizens yet. And so they just came in through the country, came in from the border, and they posting up shop in all these places. And I can speak because I do know some people that, some of my coworkers that are in the New Mexico area, it's bad. And the cities that do not have control over illegal immigrants coming in from the border have seen that their cities are terrible now. There's areas where they won't even go, from robberies to break-ins, women being offended, human trafficking, and drugs are just running rampant. So, as I always challenge people, is that whenever you think about who you vote for, what you want to do, who's going to address the major issues that are actually plaguing the communities that you actually live in, and not the BS that they actually put on the news for you just to be pulled one way and just playing with your emotions. Because these are real issues that if you are faced with, you got to deal with, knowing that there could be an apartment complex that has completely been taken over by unidentified humans living in America. And so whatever comes with that, from drugs, human trafficking, break-ins, you name it, you feel what I'm saying? So it makes your entire community unsafe, because there's enough going on with identified Americans that are citizens. But now when you add in the element of people just being able to come over at free will and not being held accountable in certain places, you got a real issue going on. I'll play the video and let you all know what you think. As always, long live CC. I'm out.
Guy, and I know we'll let you get going because you've got a huge problem to tackle there in Aurora. Just finishing up with this Cookie Monster gang leader, so he's called, okay? The New York Post has reported on him setting up operations right there in your town, Mayor. Cookie Monster is there. I mean,
He's
this guy's responsible for some heinous crimes. I mean, what are you actively doing right now to get a hold of him and arrest him?
He's been arrested. He's off the street.
That would be news. He's gone. He's off the street. Where is he?
Right. He's being held. He's been apprehended.
I would imagine he'd be a huge source of information as to how this gang ended up in your town.
Well, I think it's beyond that. It's how did this whole community end up in our town? Because I'm concerned beyond the gang issue. There's a secondary issue. In the secondary issue, desperate people do desperate things, and you've got all these migrants coming up. The Venezuelan migrants don't have access to, they have a legal status in the country, pending their asylum claims, but they don't have access to a work permit for 6 months after they're here.
Wow.
And so there are some secondary issues that we're real concerned about. But right now, the priority is this gang issue.
And the feds are involved, correct?
The feds are involved.
Got it. Mayor,
law enforcement is involved. Law enforcement is involved.
I understand. Mayor, we appreciate you coming on. People have a lot of questions over what they're seeing right there in your town.
Sure.
And we've got more on the migrant situation coming up. Some buses, apparently migrants tried to get on some elementary school buses in California. We're going to have a dad related to that situation coming up. Mayor, thank you.